Hey guys, what's going on? Ryan here with Tom Persona, and thank you for tuning in to another video. Today's video, I'm going to be discussing a topic that's a little theoretical, a little imaginative. It's not been confirmed that there will be a new Sauvage in 2021, but I want to talk about the likelihood of that happening, and I want to talk about some potential Sauvage flankers. Alright, let's get right into it. So what's the likelihood of this happening? Of us getting a new Sauvage in 2021? Well, I have here the most recent one was the Parfum released at the very end of 2019, so that wasn't even a year and a half ago, or maybe it was around a year and a half ago, but it's not been a really long time, which makes it, I guess, a little less likely that they're definitely going to be coming out with a new Sauvage. I know they just came out with a refillable bottle of the Eau de Toilette, and they're making a big deal of that. Personally, I don't really feel it's going to be as big as maybe they're thinking. I don't think a lot of guys are necessarily like super eco-conscious, and you know what I mean. Like most guys, I don't think have an issue with throwing away a bottle, and in fact, I know some guys actually save the bottle. So I don't think that's, the big idea that they're looking for, and I really hope that's not the big idea of 2021. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that we'll get a Sauvage maybe towards the end of the year. I know a lot of lines, sometimes they go uh, a year or two before coming out with something. I know, like, for example, Bad Boy is actually getting an Eau de Parfum version because the Eau de Toilette was so successful. So if I were gonna give this a percentage of the likelihood of this happening, I would probably say a solid 70% that we'll get a new Sauvage. With that being said, let's discuss the possibilities of a new Sauvage. What kinds of Sauvage could we get? I've actually thought about this a lot, so I've come up with 3 specific examples, or not examples, but potential Sauvages that I think would be really great. I think that all of them should be the Eau de Parfum concentration. I think Eau de Parfum is by far the best Sauvage now, and I think it's the overall best concentration in any brand. Alright, so any future Sauvages we get, I think should be Eau de Parfum. So the first Sauvage I have, I think, is the most obvious. You guys can take a look at it right here. It is Sauvage Eau de Parfum Blue. So at the top, there would be bergamot, basil, mint, watery notes, and lemon. So that way it kind of almost has a kind of similar vibe to a Dolce & Gabbana light blue. You know, it has the watery notes there, it has lemon. Mint is a very kind of refreshing note as well. I think that would be nice. The heart notes, there's pepper, juniper berries, seaweed, and lavender. So again, to kind of just give that a kind of fresh sea kind of vibe going on. And at the bottom, there's ambroxan, musk, and tonka bean. So before I continue, I should say that, to me, in my opinion, what makes Sauvage Sauvage is the bergamot at the top, the ambroxan, and the pepper. I think that those 3 notes are integral in the Sauvage DNA, and that's why I think actually the new Parfum is the most different, because it doesn't have pepper and it doesn't have ambroxan. But yeah, so those 3 notes are going to be consistent throughout my examples. But I think this one is the most obvious and the most actually likely to happen, because Dior overall, they don't have anything aquatic. They don't have a blue fragrance right now. I mean, they have Dior Homme cologne, which is kind of blue. But they don't have anything like Giorgio Armani Acqua di Gio Profondo or Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. So I think it's definitely past time that, Dior came out with a blue fragrance, and I think what better way to do it than making Sauvage Blue, so an eau de parfum blue. My next idea actually utilizes a primary note used in Dior's women's fragrances. So I'm thinking about Miss Dior, I'm thinking about J'adore. This note is so common in those fragrances, and actually I'm so surprised that Dior has never tried to implement it into a men's fragrance line. So you can take a look right here. The one I'm talking about would be called Sauvage Eau de Parfum Wild Rose. So at the top there would be bergamot, lavender, tuberose, and vetiver. So it would have a very green feel to it, a very, not overly floral, but green. In the heart there'd be the pepper again, French rose, geranium, pink pepper, and iris. So the heart in this fragrance would be where the majority of the floral notes would be, and it would be a very kind of powdery, floral. I don't think it would be too feminine because the pepper, but it would definitely have a more feminine feel to it, similar to the original Dior Homme. And at the bottom there would be ambroxan, sandalwood, gross rose, which is very popular in the J'adore line, especially, and tonka bean. So the base would be just a very sweet, mellow fragrance. But like I said, I'm so surprised they haven't tried to implement this at all. I mean, my idea would include a lot of rose, and perhaps it would be too much rose. I don't know how much is too much of a particular note. Maybe it would make sense to cut out the rose from either the heart or the base, but I think that, rose is a beautiful fragrance note, and I love fragrances with rose. In fact, they're very popular over in the Middle East. Over there, it's like a ton of men's fragrances have rose in them. In fact, there really aren't too many men's fragrances in the Middle East because it's mostly unisex. But I think that, a company like Dior, which, presents itself as being very worldly and very educated, they need something that is a little out there, that's not just trying to be like everybody else. And I know that's how a lot of people felt, myself included, about the new Dior Homme. But I think if they implemented rose into the next Sauvage, it would kind of get some respect back that maybe they've lost from the release of the new Dior Homme. The last idea I have for a Sauvage is, in all honesty, not going to happen. I think chances of this one happening are very low. But this one is kind of coming from a place of being a fervent coffee lover. Now, that's my other real passion, is like coffees, and not as much as fragrances, but I love trying different coffees. I love the aroma of coffee. It's just so intoxicating to me. Therefore, I love when coffee is implemented into a fragrance. However, it is rarely ever implemented correctly, and it really saddens me because I'm on like this eternal quest to find the perfect coffee-based fragrance. But that's what my last idea is. So you guys can take a look at it right here. It is called Sauvage Eau de Parfum Cafe. Now, the top notes would be bergamot, roasted coffee beans, vanilla, and cinnamon. So right away, you would get that coffee. Right away, you would get a little sweetness from the vanilla. You would get a little spice from the cinnamon. But it would be very strong. The heart notes, you have the pepper, you have the cocoa pod, dried fruit notes, caramel, black tea leaves. So not necessarily coffee related, but other notes that you'd probably smell if you were in a cafe or you were out somewhere getting a cup of coffee with a friend. And then at the bottom, there would be Ambroxan and more coffee beans. So I don't know how this would turn out, by combining everything together in a fragrance. But as long as the coffee was the predominant note, I would absolutely love this one. I would be in line the very first day. I would pre-order this. I don't even think you can pre-order fragrances, but I'm telling you, that's how much I love coffee scents. And there is just something uplifting, something encapsulating, something that's just it's without a doubt my favorite scent note. But like I said, it's rarely ever used correctly. In fact, I've never found a great coffee-based fragrance. I found ones that the coffee is a little noticeable, but not really. And that's why, if they came out with a coffee Sauvage, man, that would be the absolute best. But is it going to happen? Most likely not, unfortunately. But all we can do really is just wait and hope that we do actually get a new Sauvage in 2021. I'm not sure what it's going to be. I'm not sure if they're thinking about a new one. I have no idea, but fingers crossed that we'll see something or at least get some sort of news this year. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think of my ideas? Do you have any ideas for your own version of Sauvage? What kind of fragrance notes would you like to see combined with the bergamot, the ambroxan, and the pepper? And actually, what notes do you think make up the Sauvage DNA? I mean, maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you think other notes are integral to the fragrance. Let me know down below in the comments. Also, if you haven't yet, give this one a thumbs up and make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you stay up to date with my content. Alright guys, before you leave, remember, when you look and smell your best, you feel your best, and that's what matters.